How can a chairman of a committee be looking for a minister for 2, 3 days, 4 days, they will not answer phone? So they are doing the same thing Julius Berger is doing. We are protected under Section 28, 88 and 89 of the Constitution as amended, 1999 Constitution. I was there at Soko in the meeting, and Julius Berger refused to come. They have been doing it in the 9th Senate. Most people summon Julius Berger, they refuse to come. And I urge the Senate to punish them. They cannot be doing this. If they're a construction company, they must listen to the parliament. It's not only Julius Berger. Even some of our ministers are not answerable to the committees. And they will insult our chairman. And they will insult people working in the Senate. You will invite a minister of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Some of them will not listen to the chairman of your committee, Mr. President. And enough is enough. We should query these ministers and ask Mr. President to drop them. How can a chairman of a committee be looking for a minister for 2, 3 days, 4 days, they will not answer phone? So they are doing the same thing Julius Berger is doing. We are protected under Section 28, 88 and 89 of the Constitution as amended, 1999 Constitution. We cannot be taking this. This is a parliament. Unless they want us to be a study area, we become a study area. We are lawmakers, and they should respect this place. It's not only Julius Berger, it's also your ministers and DGs. Many chairmen of parastatal, including some of the federal government parastatal. The chairman have been telling me, I will go for a committee meeting, I expect to see a minister, the minister will not come. And I'm not the chairman, I can't do anything. It's a hard time that any minister, the parliament must put a performance record for all the ministers. I must report to the commander-in-chief. Because we are not here for jokes, Mr. President. Please, I want to thank my colleague, Osamgu, for bringing this motion. Because it is annoying that you will send us to do something and we'll be looking for a minister. I called one minister throughout yesterday because I had a meeting and message from my committee. That minister have not answered you now. Just now I'm talking, I saw his missed call for 24 hours. Is that right? That is not good, Mr. President. We have to use our powers. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity to voice how I feel this morning. I feel like fighting, but I can't fight. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second this very vital, germane motion moved on in this hallowed chamber by the minority whip. Mr. President, let me say ab initio that contractors that have been given jobs and have been mobilized and neglect to do so are showing crass disrespect for our nation. Mr. President, I want to particularly recall my trip on the Calabar-Odukpane-Itu Road recently. It will interest you to note, Mr. President, that on that fateful day, I missed my flight of 10 o'clock in the morning, having left Calabar to go to Uyo by 5 a.m. Means for about 5 hours I was on that road. And on that fateful day too, Mr. President, a tanker fell on the road on that very deplorable part, and indigents were scooping the product from the tanker, which has led in the recent past to the death of several Nigerians in many parts of Nigeria. Mr. President, I think there is an imperative need at this point that we take this motion very seriously and urge the relevant agencies of government and the relevant committees of the Senate to collaborate as a matter of national importance to ensure the resolution of this impasse on the part of the contractors and the awarding agencies. Mr. President, we're talking about the Renewed Hope agenda. we're talking about the desire by government to do things for this country. Yet, a few individuals masquerading as contractors, collecting public funds, and not doing the job, are attempting to sabotage the process. I think we must take this matter very seriously. And it is not just Julius Berger. Yes, Julius Berger can be a point of contact for all these other contractors that we're talking about here. But, Mr. President, I can tell you that even in Benue State, an 8-kilometer road that was flagged up in 2018 has remained as it were until this moment that I'm talking to you. The abandoned project of Ogobia Onyangede Ankpa Road has been abandoned for years. But on a very interesting note, I am told that after the collation of abandoned projects, which included that road, that the contractor has mobilized to site. I just hope that he doesn't abandon it again. Mr. President, this is what is replicated in all parts of Nigeria. And so I want to honestly appreciate the person who has moved this motion and to urge my colleagues not only to support it, but to see it as a clarion call to call these people to order in order to salvage this country. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Asuko, you are...
But somehow, my views are totally and fundamentally different. Your Excellency, I'm happy you are now seated when I have this opportunity to speak. I associate myself 100% with some of the sentiments expressed by distinguished Senator Dixon, that these chambers is not a place you bring contractors to, because by doing that, we give them an undeserved respect. But my first question, why I say I'm happy you are the one on seat. I was a governor in Edo State, the way we have a federal government at the federal level. When I issued or I approved the recommendation of a tenders board or procurement process, and a contract is awarded, and I confirm from the Ministry of Finance that money has been paid, I go around to check if the money paid, if the job being done is up to the value of the money that has been paid. And should I find that the contractor is no longer working, even when we have paid, it is not the House of Assembly that helps me to bring an irresponsible contractor to justice. The first thing that we do, following the laws of procurement, because there's always a contract. In that contract, there are usually clear provisions as to what should be done when money has been paid and the contractor abandons site, or if the contractor is at site, is working at such a low pace of work that the job might not be completed within the time frame provided for in the contract agreement. But my people have a saying that when an elderly man has shared akara with a small child, he loses respect in the eyes of the child. That we are discussing a contractor here who appear to be more powerful than the Ministry of Works that awarded this contract. I think these two people who are arresting the president, they are part of those who have spoken. Asuko, we will issue warrant of arrest for against lawyer, SAN.
I'm with you.
What do we do when a senator left his seat while a distinguished senator is on his feet? In order to confuse and try to persuade the Senate president, and you are diverting his attention. It is my privilege to be heard clearly without disturbing the president.
Yes, you are right.
And Asuko, I don't have to be a boxer to be able to keep you under control. So, sir, Mr. President, I am sure in your 8 years as governor, you have had cause to deal with contractors who collected money and thought it was a Christmas gift. Please, do I have the permission of the House? Osita, please. So, sir, my first question. Who is complaining? Is it the committee that awarded the contract? Is the minister complaining? If the minister is not complaining or is pretending to complain, should we not make exactly the same anger on the minister as well as his agent, the contractor? When a man who gives you a job can no longer call you to order, there are questions to be asked, and there are hard answers that must be provided. The man who gives contract cannot be helpless unless he compromises his powers. So the anger of my brother, distinguished Senator Orji, should be directed at the Federal Ministry of Works. And like somebody said, even petty contractors collect money and walk away. And there are no consequences. And I want to ask for those of us who have had the privilege to give jobs, even in our personal capacity, when you pay your contractor with evidence and you have agreement that says once you pay a job is done, if the contractor doesn't do it, why are you not invoking those sections not only to terminate, but to use law enforcement? Because this is not a civil matter, it's a contractual obligation that can have a criminal implication. And then get the security information agencies to recover the portion of the money that has been paid and for which no job has been done. For the committee to now be the one chasing a contractor and the federal ministry seems to be indifferent, suggests that we are directing our anger not to the source of the problem, but to the consequences arising from official neglect by those who are empowered to enforce contract agreement. I therefore submit, sir, with profound respect, that the Honorable Minister of Works is as implicated as any other person. Because in the first instance, he is the one representing the executive in awarding this contract. He has a story to tell as to why his contractor has become more powerful than him. Until we do that, I think we are being misled into chasing a contractor. Who is this contractor that is so powerful? More than the federal government, more than EFCC, more than all the agencies that are put in place to deal with people who are involved in criminal embezzlement of public funds. So I submit, sir, that everything we have said of Julius Berger, we should say even more to the Ministry of Works that awarded the contract. There is no evidence they have the power to revoke the contract, and they have the power under the law to get that part of the payment for which they have not worked, to recover that money to public treasury and award the contract to another contractor under clear terms of contract execution.
Thank you.
So let us not shy away from the root cause of the problem. May we not engage anyone that is beyond our capacity to bring under control. Don't hire who you cannot fire.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, let me.
My colleagues who spoke earlier to say that what we are discussing is of a fundamental consequence. But I have a different attitude to this. And here, I would like to state very clearly that committees of the Senate, whether special, ad hoc, or standing, are coordinated by the Senate leader or office of the Senate leader. Mr. President, to me, when committees have issues with either contractors or agencies they supervise and oversight, they should start with Senate Leader's Office. In a situation where we have a contractor, and here I will agree with so many of our colleagues who said we shouldn't be discussing Julius Berger here, the way we are discussing it. Because it's like the ministry has failed, Ministry of Works, and now the entire people of Nigeria are talking about Julius Berger and a contractor that has signed agreements, and those agreements are meant to be kept by both sides. Mr. President, when we have issues like this, plenary is not the best place because you won't get the best information. When we're in a closed session, you will hear a lot more than we are hearing now. Because at that point, it will be no whole bad. So I would advise that we have said enough. Either we go into closed session now and deal with it and conclude on how we go forward, or we may delay it, but I believe that discussing it in plenary does not help the Senate. And therefore, I agree with the submission of Senator Dixon, and of course, partially with the submission of my friend and brother here, the former NLC president, the senator representing Edo North, Senator Adams Oshiomole. But I say partially, the Senate, committees of the National Assembly can invite a contractor. Why? If the minister has failed or the ministry has failed, we approved funds and we want to see value for money. We want to see economy. We want to see prudence in the way and manner our funds that we appropriated are utilized. So in conclusion, Mr. President, I will advise that we should find a way of going into closed session and open up so that we deal with this issue. And like many of us said, it's beyond Julius Berger. And this has been a recurring decimal in most sessions of the National Assembly. Ministers, heads of agencies, contractors, sometimes, or many times, they will simply ignore. And when I served as Chairman of Public Accounts Committee, which I did in this Senate for 8 years, I knew how the Senate President then gave us the support by signing 1 or 2 warrants, and everybody started to be a better person. We invite you, you will appear. So, Mr. President, I advise, let's go into closed session. And when there is need for signing a warrant, Mr. President, don't hesitate. We have to make example of some people and some institutions. Thank you very much.